everybody, so it is Katie here from the Queen of Teen Fiction, and it is time for my November wrap-up. I have to apologise for the state of my nails at the moment. They're like half painted, half chipped off, and I forgot to take the remainder of the nail varnish off before filming this video. Top marks for presentability factor. So considering I didn't think I'd have much time to read this month at all because I've been doing NaNoWriMo, I actually did manage to read 5 books this month, which I am fairly proud of because I thought I'd only be able to read about 1 or 2. So I'm going to tell you what I've been reading this month. So the first book I read is a book that I mostly read during October, but I hadn't finished it in time for me to include it in my October wrap-up, and it is Bleeding Violet by Dia Reeves. Reading this book was actually a reread because the first time I read it I stopped about halfway through and didn't carry on because I just couldn't get into it at all, but that was a few years ago, so I don't like not finishing a book. I always like to try and finish what I start. So I thought I'd try and pick this one up again and see if I could get to the end, which I did, but I still didn't like it at all. I just didn't connect with the characters. I didn't like the plot because I felt like the plot was kind of all over the place. I didn't really know what was going on half the time. It's actually really difficult for me to summarise the plot of this book. The main character, Hannah, has some mental health problems, which I liked reading about that because it shines light on those kind of things in YA books. But she moved to a new town, and despite the problems that she had that I really enjoyed reading about, I didn't like her character at all. I couldn't sympathise with her. And the thing about this book is that I just couldn't understand what was going on at all. It has quite a lot of gore and horror, which I like sometimes in books, but when I don't really know what's going on, I don't really enjoy it. So yeah, I didn't enjoy this any more the second time around than I did the first time around. So the second book that I read this month is Binge by the fabulous Queen Tyler Oakley. I have been really excited to read this book, so I was super grateful and excited when I was sent a copy to review. I have been watching Tyler's videos for years, so I definitely had a lot of high expectations for this book, and I was not disappointed. Binge isn't written in a typical biography style. It doesn't put his life in order from birth to high school to discovering YouTube and his life changing. It kind of just jumps in and out of parts of his life. So you're getting little snippets basically. And it is quite unlike anything else I've ever read. There is a whole chapter on poop. And that shouldn't really work or be funny, but it was absolutely hilarious and I was crying with laughter over it. He is as entertaining on the page as he is in his videos. His personality just shone through during every chapter. And although it mostly is hilarious, there are some really hard moments in this book to read. He writes about some of the darker times in his life and I found them really emotional to read, but mixing those moments together with the humour makes a really, really great overall book. I just loved it. I loved seeing all the pictures throughout it, and I just loved his way of writing because it's basically like watching one of his videos, but in a book instead. He's not talking to you in a formal way, he's just chatting to you like a friend. It's a really easy book to read, and even if you've not seen Tyler's videos before, I think you'll still find this book hilarious. I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to read this. I did actually write a review of Binge for Maximum Pop, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to check that out. The next book that I read this month is Wren by Sarah Noff. Wren is the character that appears in Sarah's previous 2 series that I've talked about on this channel before, and I have mentioned his character quite a lot because he is not a nice character. And when he pops up in the other series, he's just full of snark and insults, and that's kind of why I liked him. So after appearing in both of Sarah's other series, she decided to write a book just about him and give him his own story, which I was super thrilled about. So Wren, the man behind the monster, follows the story of Wren's life, from his beginnings in his very tiny hometown of PV, to him finally spreading his wings, breaking out of that hometown and going off to London. And from there he makes some not so wonderful decisions and has to live with those consequences. With the type of character that he is quite selfish, he is harsh, he doesn't really care about hurting other people's feelings. You don't really feel sorry for him, but you are still captivated by his story. And then the more the story progresses, the more you do begin to sympathise with him, as you begin to see the changes that are happening to him, as he realises he doesn't have to live his life the way he thought he would. So because he was such a mysterious character in the other 2 series, which feature the Lucidites and the Riverian series. It was great to finally discover more about him, see why he is the way he is. And I love how Sarah has just written him the way she wants to. She hasn't followed any rules of how you should make a character in order to get people to like him. She just threw all of that out of the window and wrote him as the harsh and cruel character that he is, and it works so much better. I was very grateful that Sarah allowed me to beta read her book. I have enjoyed seeing it from its baby stages to where it is now, and I am so glad that she decided to publish Ren's story. The fourth book that I read this month is Girl Boss by Sophia Amoruso. Sophia is the founder and CEO of an online clothing company called Nasty Gal. The online store started out on eBay years ago, and Sophia has built it to the powerhouse that it is now. And Girl Boss is basically about being a complete badass in what you do. It is full of female empowerment and positivity, and Sophia is highly encouraging. Reading this book makes you just want to go out there and grab life and achieve everything, even if you believe that you can't. I also really loved how Sophia talks about her own life and how when she was younger she didn't want to see herself working in companies like Nasty Gal at all. The reason why she started Nasty Gal is so that she could do something where she doesn't have to talk to other people. It was very much something she thought she could do by herself, with it just being a small shop on eBay, but then as it grew she realised that wasn't going to happen, and now instead she works with so many employees in her own business, and she never saw herself doing that, but she's managed to achieve it. This is only a small book, it's quite easy to read. Like I said, it's full of encouragement, so if you need some positivity in your life right now, this is the one to pick up. Also, it's got some really great advice about business and about truly shining as the boss you are. So this is a really fun read, and I was glad that I had a chance to read it. And the final book that I read this month is actually a classic, and it is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. I don't often enjoy classics. I know, you can hate me if you want, it's fine. I am usually all about the modern books. It's not often that I find a classic that I actually enjoy reading. I came across the book on Project Gutenberg, so I could download it free for my Kindle, and I decided to give it a try, and surprisingly I actually really enjoyed it. It follows a young woman named Lucy Honeychurch who goes on a trip to Italy with their cousin, Miss Bartlett, and when they get to the place where they're staying in Italy, they discover that their rooms don't have a view, so they end up switching rooms with the Emersons, and that is a young George Emerson and his father, Mr. Emerson. Lucy and George end up having feelings for each other when they really shouldn't, and it shows how them two meeting changes both of their lives. And I just really enjoyed it, which was so shocking to me because I don't like classic books very much, and it has definitely made me want to read more books by E.M. Forster, so yeah, I'm going after the classics now. So those are the books I've been using to distract myself from NaNoWriMo this month. So if any of the books sound interesting to you, do let me know in the comments. Also let me know what you have been reading this month. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!